Hello students! In this video, we're going to review the Harvest Birds vocabulary words. Before we start on the vocabulary words, I want to do a little story review. What lessons can the reader learn from the story? Think about it, pause this video, talk it over, think it over, write it over, and then continue with the video. For our vocabulary words, we are going to have the definition, we are going to have an example sentence, and then we're going to move on to 2 activities per word. This is going to be how all of the words work, okay? All of the vocabulary words are going to have the same format. So let's get started. A harvest is our first vocabulary word. Harvest. A harvest is the crop that is gathered during one growing season. When there's a lot of corn to pick, it makes for a good harvest. Now let's think about it. If a mango tree had only 3 mangoes growing on it, would that make a good harvest? Would we get a lot of fruit? Think about it. Now let's talk about it. Read the list of foods below and decide whether each food would have a harvest. Pause the video, read the words, make your decision, and then move on. Separate. If you separate a group of objects, you divide the objects into smaller groups or categories. The example sentence is, separate or divide different kinds of seeds before planting them. Now let's think about it. In what ways could you separate the class into smaller groups? Could you separate them by boys and girls? Could you separate them by list number? What are other ways in which you could separate the class? Now, let's talk about it. Think about the category name shown in the chart, which is coins. How would you separate the larger category into smaller categories? Pause this video, talk about it, think about it, and then move on when you're ready. Our next word is ashamed. Someone who is ashamed feels embarrassed or guilty about something he or she did or did not do. So this one can be a little bit of a confusing definition. So just think about that feeling of embarrassment and guilt when you think of the word ashamed. The example sentence is, don't feel ashamed or guilty if you forget to water a plant. Now let's think about it. Would you feel more ashamed for forgetting your watch or your friend's birthday? Now let's talk about it. Read each phrase in the box below and decide whether it is something that would make you feel ashamed or proud. Pause the video, read the words, think about it, talk it over with somebody, and then move on to the next word when you're ready. Our next word is borders. Borders are the dividing lines between 2 pieces of land. Like you see in the picture, that fence is used as a border between one piece of land and the other. Example sentence is, this farm has a fence along its borders to keep the animals inside. Now let's think about it. How are borders shown on maps? If you can, pause this video and look at a map. Look at how those borders are shown. How is the border between Panama and Colombia shown? What about Panama and Costa Rica? Now let's talk about it. Read the words below and think about a place where you might have seen each object used to create borders. Read the words, pause this video, and move on when you're ready. Our next vocabulary word is advice. If you give people advice about something, you tell them what you think they should do. The example sentence is, adults often give good advice. They have ideas about solving problems. So now let's think about it. Who might you ask for advice about a problem? And why would you ask this person? Let's talk it over. Read the questions in the chart below and think about where you could go to look for advice for each question. Who could you ask? Pause this video, and when you're ready, move on to the next word. Borrow. If you borrow something, you have another person's permission to take something from them, use it, and return it. An example sentence is, if you don't have gardening tools, you could borrow some from a friend. Now let's think about it. Think of a time you let your friend borrow something of yours. What was it? Now let's talk about it. Think about things you could borrow from the list below. Which can you borrow and which can you not? Pause this video, read over the question, read over the words, and then move on. Our next word is patch. A patch is a small area of land where certain plants or crops grow. An example sentence is, you can use a fairly small patch or area of land to grow vegetables. Now let's think about it. What types of plants might you find growing in a patch? Why do you think you could find them growing in a patch? Now let's talk about it. Let's use the questions below to think about the meaning of patch. Why would a rabbit visit the patch? And how could you keep rabbits out of the patch? Pause this video, think about the answer, and move on when you're ready. Our next vocabulary word is serious. If someone is serious about something, they care a lot about what they are saying or doing. If you are serious about something, you are not joking or fooling around. Now let's think about it. Think about a time when you were serious about something. What were you serious about? Now let's talk about it. You're going to read the sentences and try the word serious in the blank spaces. Then you're going to decide whether the sentence makes sense or not. Pause the video, think it over, and then move on when you're ready. Thank you, students. I will see you in our next class. Bye-bye.